Hey guys, so today I'm going to be kind of looking in at the 2016 U.S. Census, released by the Census Bureau every year, more famously known for their every 10 years census. Of course, most people use census data for like finding family members or looking up their genealogical tree or whatever. A lot of people also use it to look up populations of cities, countries, or at least the U.S. What life was like, how many people were in where 100 years ago. But it's also very necessary to look at this data today. So I'm just going to be browsing over real quickly the statistics and what I've noticed from the 2016 census and I guess since 2010. So as you can see here, the top 10 cities in the country have not changed in years, and probably I think since 20. Well, no, Phoenix did surpass Philadelphia a few years ago. But anyway, so what I noticed automatically is New York City has lost population since 2015. In 2015, the population was 8,550,405, if my memory serves me correct. And this year it's lost about 12 or 13,000 people. So, of course, this is still it still has gained 4.43% since 2010, and it gained the most of any city in the country during that time period by raw numbers, raw quantity of data. So, but New York City, the population has started to drop again, started to stagnate, and New York State too, for that matter. Now, Los Angeles, uh, it grew a good bit more in 2015 than it did from 2014 to 2015 than it did from 2015 to 2016. Uh, this is actually a trend with most of the large cities in the country. They were growing a bit more during the recession and just after the recession because people could not afford to move out to the suburbs, and sometimes they had to move to the city to find work, and poverty was rampant. Um, but that trend has started to go the other way now again, and people are moving back to the suburbs, although the amount of people moving to the suburbs is not as high as it was in the 60s, 70s, 80s, and 90s. So Chicago has continued to drop in population since about 2013 or 14, maybe. Uh, so it dropped by about 8,000 people, which is a huge number, more than Detroit, uh, during the 2015-2016 time period. It still shows a slight gain since 2010, but that's going to be probably erased by next year or the next, or 2017, 2018, sorry, census. Houston's population growth slowed tremendously. Only gained like about 7,000 people, I think, this last year. I think part of that's because they stopped. Maybe they didn't annex as much land. Um, so Phoenix, meanwhile, was the city that grew the most uh, from uh, 2015 to 2016, and that's not saying a whole lot, but it did grow like 15 to 30,000 people, I think. So it grew more than New York shrunk. It grew more than L.A. Grew more than Austin. So it's kind of surprising. But again, it does have room to add more people since it's 516.7 square miles diameter. Philadelphia might have grown a tiny bit from 2015, 2016, but as a whole, the population is stagnated, if not shrinking, in Philadelphia. You see that huge gain for a city like Philadelphia, for Rust Belt City, from 2010 to 2016. However, that's not indicative of what's really going on. I think the reason it gained about 40,000 people in about a 1 or 2 year time scale from 2010 to 2011 to 2012 is because maybe they annexed some more land or something. I know you wouldn't think they'd have any more room, any more land around them to annex, but apparently they did, because there's no way the city grew that much in that amount of time. San Antonio is still growing nicely, although the population growth has slowed. San Diego, uh, it's been adding population a lot slower than some of the other top 10 cities. Um, so yeah, probably about around 10,000 a year as of late, which is slowing down significantly. Dallas, meanwhile, has added about 10 to 15,000 people since 2015, if my mind serves me correct. And San Jose has become stagnant, basically. They grew. They basically surpassed 1 million, and then they haven't done jack since, basically. So they could start shrinking soon, I suppose. Don't let the 8.39% growth fool you. That happened from about 2010 to 2013 or so. And since then, not much growth has taken place. So I was going to do just an overview of the 2016 census, but I'm not going to have enough time to do all that. So what I'm going to have to do, I'm just going to give an overview of the top 10 cities list for 2016. And keep in mind, these Census Bureau, these are estimates. These are not raw numbers. These are not exact numbers. It's not like they went out to every place and gathered everyone up and said, here, I'm going to shoot everybody if you don't come out here and show how many people are living in your house. It's not like that at all. Plus, illegal aliens and immigrants count for a large number, probably maybe 50,000 or more of the population of these biggest cities. And with some of them being rounded up and hauled out of the country by Sir Trump, you could see the populations of these large cities drop soon too, because the amount of out-migration from the immigrants probably is too big for the amount of people moving in to really make any change. So as you can see, the largest city by land area in the top 10 is, of course, Houston. And many people think it's Phoenix, but it's actually Houston. Both are sprawling cities with still a good bit of undeveloped land in their borders, but it's quickly being gobbled up. And so that's why you haven't seen Houston grow that much since they stopped annexing land for about a year or so. Looking at the long-term trends here, New York will stay the same for probably 100 more years or so unless something significant happens. Los Angeles doesn't have enough land area to expand anymore, any room to annex, so their population will probably not surpass New York City's anytime soon, if ever. Chicago will probably get surpassed by Houston within the next maybe 15 years, but it depends really on if Houston growth stagnates like it did this last year. Phoenix will stay in 5th place for a long time. Philadelphia will probably go down to 7th place when San Antonio surpasses it in the next maybe 5 years. San Diego, it'll take longer for it to surpass Philadelphia. Dallas most of the people, it doesn't have as much room to grow inside of its borders, but for some reason you still see a 10% increase from 2010 to 2016. Those numbers could be overestimates, but we'll find out exactly for sure when the more accurate 2020 census comes out and the data shows. Another thing too with the census, it doesn't reflect reality until a year later. So basically, this year the new numbers came out or released to the public around May 24th of 2017, but they're not for the 2017 census. They're from the 2016 census. So basically, it takes about a year to analyze all the data, I guess, and collect it all, which is fair. I mean, I know people are impatient or whatever, but that's just the lay of the land, basically. So yeah. What is the most impressive skyline of the top 10? I mean, that's New York City, of course, but Houston's got a nice skyline. Chicago. San Diego's is actually decent for being a Sunbelt city. Dallas is nice. San Jose is the worst of the top 10, of course. Its downtown sucks compared to the others. Well, plus it's a more modern city in terms of growth. I mean, it was still basically a quote unquote small city until the 1950s or so. So it hasn't really the population